Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from the outskirts of the internet's the Gaming Saloon for April 6, 2025, which your host, Spectre448, and Wrap It Up Salon.
Hi.
It's our Switch 2 show, basically.
What do you mean? We're talking about the Switch 1.
And well, yes, and the Switch 2. Basically, it's a Switch episode for all intents and purposes.
Cue the Switch sound effect.
Mm-hmm. At least you didn't have to watch. I assumed you watched the Switch 2 Direct in full or just went through it, right?
Oh, I watched it in full.
Okay. At least you didn't have to deal with audio desync.
It wasn't desynced on YouTube.
It was for me when I was streaming on both the YouTube and the Twitch end. And I was not the only one.
That's weird because it was not on my end of it.
You can watch the live reaction and see that and hear the audio is desynced. As I tried to fumble around and fix it. And realize, oh no, it's on Nintendo's end. I can do nothing. Well, I guess we're watching this with desynced audio.
Yeah, that's weird because it was not desynced on the YouTube one that I was watching.
They might have fixed it after the fact, but when it premiered live, the
desync. No, I was watching it live.
Then I don't know. I checked the Twitch and I checked the YouTube both, and they both were desynced. I have video proof of this. And I know damn well I wasn't the only one. So I don't know what the hell happened. But yeah, we're talking both directs amongst a little bit of smaller news and stuff. But first, Tommy, what have you been playing?
About the only thing besides what we've done on stream that I've played, I kind of can't talk about because then that jumps into our first article.
Pretty much.
Just gonna put that one out.
I think my only one thing really, besides some cat stuff, I've got a couple of pictures up to share. Because the new Super Robot Sport game got announced at the Japanese Switch 1 Direct, I've decided I'm gonna go back to Super Robot Wars Team Platinum it, because I'm only missing like 6 achievements or 6 trophies basically for that one. And most of it is just I had to go through the game again as the other protagonist. But there's 3 of them that are like super specific that I have to run through. But yeah, I decided to do that because I have been craving a new Super Robot Wars, and oh look, we had a new one. I'm gonna platinum T while I wait for this one to come out on Steam eventually. Because they said it's coming to Steam along with Switch 1 and maybe Switch 2 as well. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, if it's coming to Switch 1, then it's coming to Switch 2.
Yeah. Also, I'm just like, you don't even need to do improvements for this for Switch 2 because it's a fucking tactics game. Like, you're not going to make this look any better with more horsepower. That's kind of the point. But yeah, I guess the couple of pictures I'll share, at least in the Discord. I got the Blade Kimmy done on stream this past Thursday. That's why it's a shorter stream if you've looked on the archive. So that's 6 down. And I did up a quick little thing to like put them all on. Since my first phase is the 20 Heisei Rider ones. Or 20 main Heisei Rider ones. But yeah, Double is done, Dino is done, Blade is done, Build is done, Forze is done, and Drive is done. I've only gotten a test print of double and drive done, which is why they're the only two on Thingiverse. I had to do a tolerance test real quick, or print a tolerance test to figure out how big I need to make the hole in relation to my peg. Apparently, I lose about 0.2 millimeters on a hole from a print. So say my hole is about 3 millimeters, it's going to be 2.8 millimeters by the time it's done printing. So I have to compensate accordingly. Well, actually, no, it's more like 2.7. That's probably what it ended up being. But yeah, I have to do some compensations to like make sure everything fits together. But I decided to do that after I printed all the stuff for the demo one and nothing was fitting together. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out why nothing fits together for me. Found out that you can do a quick tolerance test, which is just you print a plate with a bunch of holes that are your specific sizes, and then you print a peg at an exact size, and then you just shove peg into a hole and see which one fit. If the peg goes into the hole, congratulations. That's your tolerance, basically, that you need to compensate for. I will say the build one is probably the one with the most parts at this point. Because it is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 parts on just the tank alone. And I forget how many parts the rabbit half of it is. I have to boot up SolidWorks to see. It's a decent amount of parts on the rabbit. But yeah, continuing through that, I'm happy to have like 6 of them done. The only downside is all 6 of these I had worked on before. So pretty much from here on out, I am starting from scratch on everything. Which is fine. I was gonna have to hit that point eventually. But now I'm basically starting from scratch on everything, and so it'll probably take me longer to get everything done. Oh, the rabbit is 11 parts. So that's like almost 20 parts in total for build. I don't think anything would be that many parts. At least for the main riders, but I'll find out when I get there. But yeah, that's basically been my last couple of weeks. Anything else before we get to the directs?
No.
All right, then we kick off with the not Switch 2 Direct. The Switch 1 Direct, I guess. They just called this a regular Direct. So more or less, this is a big showcase of a lot of things coming to Switch 1 specifically. It was a very interesting batch of things that we'll run through. But I'll just list off stuff and we'll talk about whatever piques our interest. So they kicked off with Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD to 2D remake. That is still on the way. No Sleep for Kaname Date, which is a little side game for the AI, the Saloon Files stuff that comes out in July. Raidou Remastered, one of the various SMT spin-off games, is coming out in June. This is the first of the 2 Raidou games, so expect the second one. Shadow Labyrinth still exists and pisses me off for no good reason.
It's just because it exists.
Yeah. Patapon 1+2 Replay comes out July 11th. If you are interested in the ye olde PSP series. Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar comes out August 27th. I forget what end of the Harvest Moon successor this is, but it's some part of the Harvest Moon stuff. Prime 4 had a quick little showcase. Nothing much for it. We'll see more of it in Switch 2 Direct. I think they just wanted to show off the planets that you're on for some amount of the game or all of the game, and Samus's new psychic abilities. And then her new suit. Whatever this new suit ends up being at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I assume you have thoughts.
I'm more puzzled with it. Because, as I pointed out, because we did talk about it, as I pointed out, with the Prime games especially, the suits have always kind of followed the story beats of the game. This one feels out of pocket. So the psychic powers cannot be the main point of it. In my opinion.
Also doesn't help that the room we're in is completely different from everything else in the trailer.
Yeah. But it's one of those, I'm just like,
I'm almost
feels
willing to say
weird with this one.
Yeah, I was willing to say that we're getting this suit in some sort of hub area. And this hub area might be a ship.
But my thing is, what would be the point of the suit?
I don't know. To be honest, it doesn't help. We don't know much about the plot of this game.
And of course, the video kind of decided it wasn't going to cooperate.
Of course not. I think from the Treehouse, because I watched a bit of the Prime 4 Treehouse, I think they said that, like, I can't remember his name, but the guy from Hunters attacks some facility with the space pirates, and they're after some artifact, and the artifact gets hit, and then the demo cuts there. And I believe the artifact is the same artifact that's in the title. So apparently the artifact is important for it to also be in the title. Like physically in the title. Still coming out 2025. No further dates and stuff on Prime 4, unfortunately. Any other Prime 4 thoughts?
Besides the fact that I'm amazed we didn't get a definitive date, because I figured they were just holding it back because of the Switch 2 release.
Yeah.
I think at this point, knowing that they didn't go ahead and say it, it's probably the Christmas release that we'll see, kind of deal.
In other of various games, Nintendo or Disney Villains Cursed Cafe. Serve Disney villains various concoctions to solve their problems.
It certainly looks like a thing.
It certainly looks like a very budget thing. Witchbrook. This little witch-based life sim kind of game. I like the look of it.
I had such a weird but don't really know how to feel about it vibe with this one.
I think I'm just a sucker for really good pixel art.
Well, I don't think it was that. I think that was actually what was making me not really sure how I felt about it. Because it didn't, to me, didn't feel like what I would have expected with what they were saying the game was. So it was kind of disjointed for me. It doesn't seem bad on either aspect. It's just I'd have to see it all in motion before I could make a final yes or no.
The Eternal Life in Golden says, "Hey, would you like a new DuckTales game that's not DuckTales?"
Yeah.
Like, not only do we have the Pogo gameplay, but we got an old rich man going after treasure and stuff. You can't get more DuckTales coded than this goddamn game if you didn't throw in like a few nephews for him to tag along with. Gradius Origins is a collection of Gradius games. Comes out August 7th. Rift and the Necrodancer is the Necrodancer people doing a Guitar Hero game.
Which is the thing I couldn't talk about without kind of jumping ahead.
Fair.
I might have bought it, and yeah, it is fun.
I looked at that, and I'm looking at that and just going, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
Also they have fucking like Warrior Rare Rhythm Heaven-esque mini games as well. What the fuck? I missed that part. Also, Celeste DLC because fuck it.
And fun thing that people probably don't fully put two and two together on. Family Jewels is one of them that's made music for this.
Hasn't he made music for them before?
I think so, but this is probably the first time that I think it's really been full on credited.
Okay, I could have sworn he did some for their Zelda game.
I think so, but like I said, as far as being full on credited and not just you got an end credits kind of deal.
Okay.
Because all the songs have who did them listed kind of deal.
Nice. Tamagotchi Plaza, that they kept pronouncing as Tamagotchi Plaza, is a Tamagotchi game. Yay.
It's a thing.
Legends ZA actually got a little bit into what the gameplay of the game is going to be. So basically, during the day, we're going to be running around town, catching Pokemon, building up our team. But at night, we're thrown into a battle royale to up our rank from Z to A against other trainers and stuff. And we could surprise trainers and get advantage on them. We could backstab trainers.
I don't know how I feel about Pokemon getting the battle royale treatment.
I don't think it's really a full battle royale. I think it's just a descriptor of like, hey, a bunch of trainers are in an area, which is like how it is in every Pokemon game. We've just put a name to it. Like, I just don't think it'll be that different from, oh, there's just trainers in specific spots, and if you go up to them, you battle them.
I don't know. The fact that they're emphasizing not only the open world stuff, but also the real-time battles. I don't know. Something's telling me that they're probably not telling us everything.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot they're not telling us about this game, to be perfectly honest.
And there's probably a reason why they're calling it the way they are. And I'm like,
I'm pretty sure from the one person I check in on Pokemon Leaks, I think the last count was there is 26 new Mega Evolutions that they have not said anything about. But yeah, Rhythm Heaven Groove was announced, the new Rhythm Heaven game, because the person behind Rhythm Heaven, I think he had throat cancer, I believe, or something along those lines, which is why Rhythm Heaven has been like on hiatus for a long time. But I guess he's gotten better because we have a new Rhythm Heaven game. It looks cool. Details of the virtual game cards for Switch, which feels like took a long time to explain something that I felt like could have been better explained in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It felt like they overcomplicated this.
And granted, while this is only stated here for the Switch, it is more than likely going to be the Switch 2 also.
Yeah. Basically, this is you can lend your game temporarily to friends so that they can play the game for, I don't know, a week or two.
If they're in your family group, up to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If say you've got 2 consoles, then you can swap them back and forth, but it is as if you had a physical game.
Basically.
The easiest way to think of it is treat it as it's digital game, but it's physical game kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think will also start getting phased out with the game share stuff that we saw out of the Switch 2 one.
Mm-hmm.
Just speculation there.
The Big L Sizzle Reel, High on Life, Star Overdrive, Wandering Village, King of Meat, Lose Lagoon Summer, and Fantasy Life 1. Or Fantasy Life I were all showcased. Saga Frontier 2 was also shown off. Monument Valley 1, 2, and 3. Everybody Golf Hot Shots, which that's a Sony franchise coming to Switch because Sony licensed out Hot Shots Golf to Bandai, I believe, and they're putting it on the Switch. I'm just like, oh look, another golf game. Wait, right? This got me excited. This I was so happy to see. Marvel Cosmic Invasion from the folks who did Shredder's Revenge. They are doing a Marvel beat 'em up where you can pick 2 characters for yourself and you can hot swap between them to do combos and all sorts of other fighting and cool beat 'em up stuff. This looks so good. I'm so happy. Also 4-player co-op to be expected, but basically that means 8 players. I think they have a roster of like 15 or so plans because the pictures come out of their roster of your character selection page. But yeah, a nice variety of characters. Are you excited?
Kind of.
Fair. Not quite last up, but Tomodachi Life is coming back to the Switch after being absent for like 10 years from basically being on the 3DS exclusively. Weird hijinks ensue as you manage the lives of a bunch of people in a town now instead of an apartment building. Hooray, this comes out next year. Last up, though, was Nintendo going, we ain't dealing with social media anymore exclusively. We're making an app, and then you can get our news from the app. That was basically it.
Which I downloaded immediately.
Same. Like, oh, hooray, I have a Nintendo-themed calendar now. Ooh. I wish you could choose it to, like, randomize out of the calendars it has instead of just exclusively picking one.
Yeah.
But that was it. Except for in the Japanese Direct, Super Robot Wars Y was announced. I'm excited. I have been craving a new Super Robot Wars game. Let me get the list of games that have been, or series that have been announced for Y that are going to be integrated into it. If I can find that in a reasonable amount of time. But they've announced Come Battler V, Dunbind, G Gundam, Witch from Mercury Season 1, Majestic Prince, Macross Delta, Code Geass, Get a Robo Arc, will all be series so far featured in the game, amongst others. Super Robot Wars is a big crossover of a bunch of robot anime, manga, and the like. And it's a tactics game, so it's like, ooh, this hits all sorts of buttons for me. Hooray. It's a very me thing, which is why I'm sure no one else cares. But any thoughts, grades, or the like for the Switch 1 Direct?
I feel like it was good for it being what can definitively say is the last Switch 1 Direct.
Yeah.
Because at this point, even if we got stuff that was Switch 1 focused, it's still going to be a Switch 2 Direct also, because no matter what happens when we get something that's coming out on the Switch 1, we're going to hear about it being compatible with Switch 2.
Yep.
It could have been better if we had pulled the trigger and gave a tighter window for Prime 4's release.
Yeah.
Even if they just said, like, winter 25. That would have been fine. And, I mean, that same criticism goes to the Switch 2 Direct also. They had two options that they could have said, hey, it's going to be this time frame this year. But we still left it open. I think the only other thing that probably outside of that could have maybe made this any better is if we got some kind of like last minute remaster, just as like a send off for the Switch 1.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm also thinking Switch 2 might be our remaster machine.
Yeah.
I think we'll get the first 2 years of the Switch 2 being new, and then we're going to probably start seeing a lot of the remastered stuff that we couldn't get on the Switch 1 coming over.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the, you know, fact of the Switch 2's Joy-Con can be treated as mice. Makes me kind of sit there thinking, okay, you guys are baking in back end to potentially bring Wii stuff over.
Mm-hmm.
Wii and GameCube are going to be running the same kind of spec-wise. And we've already got the GameCube NSO announced, so knowing everything in that aspect, could this one have been better? Yeah. Was it bad? Not really. It was kind of a meh, in my opinion.
I came away happy for things, but the things I came away happy about were the things I'm not playing on Switch, most likely because I will be getting them on PC. Basically.
Like, pretty much, there's 3 things on here that kind of even remotely got attention from me, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I've already talked about. The Pokemon one, I kind of feel like we're still missing too much information for me to be 100% on board with it.
I feel like I shouldn't feel that way about that, but I do. I'm just like, why am I not excited for this when I really like the first Legends game? Is it because it just feels like I don't know much about it in relation to Legends? Or like in relation to Arceus?
That's what I'm kind of thinking. And then obviously Rift of the Necrodancer. Because I'm sorry, anything that can get announced in a direct that immediately makes me want to go ahead and get it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those good work on you guys for that one then. But the rest of it, nothing else really jumped out at me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're sitting there looking at it as anything else that is Switch exclusive. Kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, the Switch exclusive stuff was like, well, I already knew about Prime 4, and I'd be interested in Prime 4 as long as it is better than the other two between it and 1. Because 2 and 3 have problems that have maybe not like them to some extent.
2 not near as bad as 3,
No.
but yes.
Like, 2's problem was it had shit bosses, but otherwise was good. 3's problem was everything.
And what's bad is I can't even say 3's problem was motion controls.
The motion controls didn't help.
No, not at all.
I think it exacerbated the problems more than anything.
I probably, actually. That's kind of part of the reason why I would hope that they would do a trilogy remaster.
Mm-hmm. Just
because I would be willing to give 3 a fair shake if it had regular controls. Just to see. See if maybe the motion control bias is what was screwing with me.
Yeah, besides those two, I was just like, well, there's nothing else that's like is going to be Switch exclusive that's interested me. 2 multi-platform things, I'm like, yes, please give me. That's only because, hey, another beat 'em up, but it's Marvel now from the people who did Shredder's Revenge, and I love Shredder's Revenge. And then, hey, new Super Robot Wars. And even the new Super Robot Wars is like, hey, 2 of the shows you want in a new Super Robot Wars, they're right here off the bat, we're telling you. And I'm like, awesome. And then like 1 from 30 that I liked is also there as well. And I'm like, you know what? Good. You basically have sold me on the game already from like the initial batch of material you're including. Everything else beyond this point is just going to make me happy. Mm-hmm.
And so,
but besides that,
the fact that you can say that right there makes me realize that there's not that big of a difference between this Direct and where like PlayStation and Microsoft have both floundered too.
Yeah.
The only difference is there actually is some stuff here that we care about.
Yeah. It really is. It really was just a case of, hey, Nintendo announced 2 things that I was interested in, even if it's not theirs. And honestly, I was just expecting probably. Weirdly, there was not a whole lot of Nintendo stuff in general across both these directs. I feel like
there was more Switch 2.
Yeah.
But there was nothing close enough to be feasible in the Switch 2 one, is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those, we got told about a lot of stuff that we're going to see at the end of the year, but we're not seeing a lot of stuff that we're going to be getting relatively soon.
Yeah, I think our podcast was kind of worried about that coming out of their reaction of just like, this feels like not the best launch lineup. And I'm like, yeah, looking back at Switch's 1's launch year, this does feel not as good as Switch 1's launch year.
I disagree. But it also
feels like
I disagree. March, when it came out, all we had was Breath of the Wild and 1-2 Switch on release day. We had, and Bomberman. I forgot there was a third one. The rest of it was all digital stuff, and the next first party we had was the Mario Kart 8 remaster. We didn't have anything first party between Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart. And that was I'm wanting to say 2 months gap. It was at least a month.
Gap. It was a 1 month gap because I have the first party lineup from March to February of the next year.
So if we're taking that into consideration, first month we get 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Snipper Clips. I always forget about that one too.
Isn't
Okay, so major titles we'll look at, because that's essentially what we're going to be looking switch to when we get there. So the
That's
first
basically
two,
your
first 2 months the Switch is out. Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 were what was selling the console. What's going to be the first 2 things that we're going to have selling the Switch to?
It's it's Mario Kart and not Odyssey Donkey Kong, basically.
So we're going to have Mario Kart, which was the month 1 for the Switch, and a Donkey Kong version of Odyssey, because until they really prove otherwise, which wasn't until 7 months after launch for the Switch one.
The Donkey Kong is...
The Donkey Kong one's going to be 2 months. I thought 1.
It's 1 or 2 months. I don't know why I'm trying to Google it. It'll be right there in the damn article.
Right. But Odyssey was 7 months out, is what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah.
We're still going to have about the same kind of comparison.
Yeah, it'll be 1 month gap, because it's in
1
July.
month? Okay.
Yep. And then Mario Kart's coming with the Switch in June.
We're probably not going to have anything in August. Maybe not in September either. We're probably going to see, for one of the first times in a while, us seeing Nintendo having major releases probably October and November. Because Prime 4, I'm willing to bet's going to be that November slot.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they don't have something, maybe 3D Mario cooking for late in the year.
Yeah. I think it just feels that way.
They just don't want to overshadow right now.
Yeah, it just feels that way because we don't have hard dates for their other major things.
But that's the thing.
In reality,
for the 2 things we do, we've got the exact same kind of layout.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bad argument there. That's kind of expecting them to do more than what they really are going to.
I think it was just a need, like a coming directly off the direct. It felt that way, but when you sit down and look at it, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's only a feel sort of way rather than it actually is, just because Prime 4, ZA don't have hard dates. Kirby Air Riders is next year?
I think so.
Yeah. And that was your 3 major things off this direct.
But what a lot of people are failing to realize, though, is yes, we've only got 2 major titles. That's the same as what the Switch had, but we're getting more. Because not only are you getting that, you're getting the ability to play the Switch games that you already have. Day 1 getting GameCube NSO.
And then the massive amount of third-party support.
Yeah. Because most of the third-party support that we got there was saying about how it was going to be at launch.
Yeah. Like normal-ass regular video games, like the main things that you would see on Sony and Microsoft platforms are going to be on the Switch too. So it's like, oh, hey, there's Split Fiction, which just came out. There's just a regular-ass NBA and wrestling game.
It's one of those... The people looking at it that way are probably the same ones that are looking at it as they're only playing Nintendo games on it. The Switch 2 is actually going to have a better starting point than the Switch had. Now, granted, that is a double-edged sword. because in a sense, the Wii was in the same predicament.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wii, gaming-wise, fell flat. Console-wise, it did good.
Mm-hmm.
So, having that apprehensiveness, I completely understand. But it's in a far better spot than the Switch was.
Speaking of the Switch 2, shall we talk about its Direct?
Sure, because we already were.
Yep. So we're gonna have to like strike some of this top information because it is subject to change because of real world circumstances. So initially announced for 450 on its own, and then 500 with Mario Kart World, launching June 5th. I would assume the release date will stay the same, but consider those prices subject to change, at least stateside. Additionally, there is not going to be pre-orders opening on April 9th, at least in the States. They have said that is, they are reevaluating that because of real world circumstances. So, again, strike that from this article. We can't even get into that because of everything.
The only thing that can is the way they're handling it.
Hmm.
Because the thing from the My Nintendo store, when you register for the interest there, it's basically a first come, first serve based on who has had an NSO membership for at least a year and has played at least 50 hours.
Yeah, they're basically trying to curve scalpers as much as they can, which is the entire reason for all of this jumping through hoops to get things, because scalpers be shitheads.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the box itself, 7.9-inch LCD will display at 1080. Will output to 4K and play games up to 120 FPS, depending on the game, basically, because, you know, not every game will probably run at 120.
Is the same thickness as the current Switch.
Yep. It is just wider.
Which makes me wonder, will the Switch 1 dock technically work with the Switch 2?
Maybe.
It obviously wouldn't support the 4K because the Switch 1 dock could not do that. But
I think the Switch 2 dock has an additional fan in it, so that might be a thing.
Maybe. It just depends. Well, it looks like they're using the same form factor, though.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, then the Switch 1 dock should technically still work for that aspect.
Yeah, you probably just won't get 4K, and you probably won't get as much cooling as you should probably want on the Switch 2.
Trust me, I probably will be one of those people to try it.
Fair. The Joy-Cons have a magnetic clip now instead of the rail system, so they plug in via magnets. There is a C button that is basically your not Discord button. Your totally distinct, different not Discord to do audio and video chat and overlay you onto the game, because there is even a camera that one company, I forget the name of them, is doing a Piranha Plant themed camera. Hooray! The thing I will not ever bother using. The Joy-Cons can also act as mice for whatever games supports that. Prime 4 might be the only thing really hard doing that.
It's the only thing immediate that they talked about.
I think some of the
surprise me. Yeah, I think Jamboree did mention something about it.
Yeah, some of the new Jamboree games for their add-on, I think, support it.
It wouldn't surprise me if whenever we get the new 3D Mario game that it will probably utilize it too. I only say that because I know that's been Nintendo's thing. The 3D Mario typically utilizes whatever gimmick they implemented in the system.
Hooray. We've gone from waggling to go faster to now we must move the mice and move it like mice to go faster. Presumably.
Yeah.
Switch 2 cartridges will be red instead of black. Presumably they will have the same bitter taste for you crazy people. 256 gigs of internal storage can be expanded with micro SD express cards, not vanilla micro SD cards. You need the express ones for faster load timing and all that hoopla.
It makes me wonder if you can still use the regulars.
Maybe, I don't know. There wasn't a terabyte express card because I decided to check that real quick the other day.
Yeah, I saw.
Let's see. Game chat is there, not Discord. It even fucking looks like Discord, especially when you do video chat in Discord. I'm like,
uh-huh.
Are you working with Discord for this, or did you just rip their shit off and they're like, no, fuck them?
I mean, to be fair, Discord looks like Skype for video calling, so.
And Skype's dead, by the way. I don't know if we ever talked about that.
I mean, it's kind of a duh.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, Skype has like an end date now, end of service date. And I'm like, oh, well, that's damn. They utilizes the camera, like I said. Game chat will be a free update until March 2026 for all Switch 2 users. After that, you must have Switch Online to do game chat.
To use game chat, which if you're playing online anyhow, you have to have NSO, so meh.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure 90% of people will probably just use anything that isn't this.
Yeah, probably.
To be perfectly honest, there are better options.
But there's also a game share thing.
Yes, you can share your game, and it is clearly at a lower frame rate and not looking as good when you game share.
I mean, meh.
Yeah. We have a few accessories.
I could see the game share thing being more of a local than an online anyhow.
Yeah, they were doing it locally on the Treehouse, I believe, for Mario Kart for one segment.
It's basically a good way to allow people that still have the Switch 1 to be able to play Switch 2 stuff.
Mm-hmm. Switch 2 accessories. We have a Pro Controller for $80. It's the original, but now it has the C button, and it has two back paddles, I guess, would technically be what they're called. Because they're on the grip.
Yep. Technically paddles. Like they call them buttons, but it's paddles is what those will be considered.
You can map those to whatever you desire. I assume it's not like a standard, we use these buttons since they are Pro Controller only.
I'm wondering, since there isn't anything different, if the regular Pro Controller will just still work without any kind of fights, just you won't have the C button.
I believe so. I believe they've released the here's how all of your accessories work with Switch 2.
I know the Joy-Cons can sync.
Yeah.
So I would assume that means that the Pro Controller does too, and if that's the case, then I'm not buying another Pro Controller. I like my Pro Controller.
Yes, here it is. Joy-Cons are compatible with Switch 2. They cannot be attached to the Switch 2, a Switch console, or compatible accessories such as a Joy-Con charging grip or Joy-Con charging stand 2-way is required for charging. Switch Pro Controller, compatible with Switch 2, can be paired wirelessly, can be charged by connecting it to the Switch 2 dock via USB. The NES controller is compatible, the SNES controller is compatible, the N64 controller is compatible, Genesis compatible. The adjustable charging stand for Nintendo Switch is not compatible. The dock is not compatible. They straight up say the Switch 1 dock is not compatible with Switch 2.
Okay, probably because it can't do 4K.
Yeah.
I still will be the dumb person to test it.
They don't specify why. They just say it is not compatible.
They probably don't want people trying it.
Switch AC adapter is not compatible due to differing power output. It is not possible to use Switch 2 in TV mode using this adapter. It's possible to charge a Switch 2 console when plugged in directly.
Then that right there is why.
Mm-hmm.
Switch 2 will not work on the Switch 1 dock then, because of the power differential.
The HDMI with Switch 1 is not compatible because of differing HDMI cable standards. And in order to maximize performance of Switch 2, please use the HDMI cable included with Switch 2.
No.
SD card is not compatible. Yeah, it's designed exclusively for micro SD express cards, which allows for faster data transfer. It is only possible to use micro SD card to view screenshots, video captured on Nintendo Switch. And then they have a separate page for that sort of compatibility.
My thing is, how is it going to know the difference between them?
Something, I don't know. GameCube is GameCube controller adapter is compatible. Joy-Con strap, non-compatible.
I wouldn't know why.
Grip. Joy-Con grip, non-compatible. Charging grip, non-compatible. Joy-Con wheel, non-compatible. Leg strap for God damn it. Why can't I remember the name? The exercise game that I have. Ring Fit, non-compatible. Ring-Con, non-compatible. Bear in mind, it's not compatible with the Switch with the Joy-Con 2 controllers. They are still compatible through Joy-Con or Switch 1 Joy-Cons. So like all this grip stuff is you cannot shove a Joy-Con 2 into it, is the short and long of it all. Because the AA battery pack pair and then the charging stand. You can't shove a Joy-Con 2 into any of these devices. You must use a Joy-Con 1.
With all that drift.
Yes. Let's see. We got new Joy-Con 2s, which are 90, the charging grip, which is 35, the strap, which is 13, a wheel, which is 20, the dock 2 set, or Switch 2 dock set is 110, a carrying case and screen protector is 35, an all-in-one carrying case is 80, and the AC adapter is 30, and the camera is 50. I forget what that carrying case looks like. It is definitely not the carrying case I got for my Switch 1. Oh yeah, right. I remember seeing this. That does not look as sturdy as the one I had for my Switch 1.
It looked too flimsy, in my opinion.
Yeah, the one I have has like a hard case around. Let's see if I can find it.
Granted, I mean, I've got one that carries most of my Switch 1 stuff that's kind of like that, so I mean, it probably would do fine, but...
Mm-hmm. That I won't be able to find it. Oh. Okay, that's basically it. I had to have it because going back and forth to college with my Switch, it was easier to pack it in that. But yeah, that's basically what I have.
It's not a hard one. That's a soft one.
I was about to say, it feels hard.
It's not hard, it's...
Yeah. It's like a hard plastic. That has like a mesh surrounding it. It's 2 clamshells basically. Anywho, that's all our accessories. Games now! First and foremost, Mario Kart World. Mario Kart has gone open world because now you can not only explore this entire interconnected world with all of its tracks and stuff, but now in Grand Prix and knockout modes, not only are you racing on the track, you are racing to the next track for a couple laps or so. It sounds like they're doing a lot of sprint tracks rather than circuit tracks, if it feels like.
Well, I mean, it is Mario Kart Horizons.
Yeah. The big thing is fucking kart platforming is the best way I can put it. You can do wall jumps, you can do grind rails. I think you can do some hops and stuff in the middle of the race. There's like a Wonder Flower power-up that gives you different outfits. I don't know if you can choose those outright, but there are different outfits for at least, I think, the main cast. I don't sure about the extended cast because of, upgrading the number of racers to 24 off the bat. Basically, everybody is here to steal it from Smash.
Wowie zowie.
Let me see. There's one website compiled a list. So here is everybody confirmed across all the different footage and demos we've had so far. So Baby Daisy, Baby Luigi, Baby Mario, Baby Peach, Baby Rosalina, Bitty Bud, Birdo, Bowser, Bowser Jr., Cataquick, Charging Chuck, Daisy, Dolphin, Donkey Kong, Fishbones, Goomba, King Boo, Koopa Trooper, Lakitu, Luigi, Mario, Moo Moo, who's a cow, Monty, Nabbit, Pauline, Peach, Peppa, who's a ghost, Penguin, Piranha Plant, Pinata from Sunshine, Pokey, Rosalina, Rocky Wrench, Shy Guy, Sidestepper, Snowman Spike, Sting Bee, who's a bee, Toadette, Waluigi, Wario, Yoshi across several different colors. Also a Cataquick, a Fishbones, and a Penguin. And yes, the Cataquick is that motherfucker from Sunshine. I am targeting anyone who plays Cataquick. No. You have chosen poorly. I will say this from just observant stuff I've seen on Twitter and stuff. No kart customization.
Which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah, to be honest, you just went with the best stuff and just went about your day.
Well, not to mention, cuts down speedrun stuff.
Yeah, I think you can select different karts, but there's no customizing, basically. There is time of day changes, at least in the open world stuff.
And weather changes.
Yes. Trying to think of anything else. I guess you can go through the tracks and stuff, but I don't have a list of the tracks. I know one of them's a Donkey Kong track.
Like a old Donkey Kong track, because they show it off in the treehouse.
Yeah, it's like Donkey Kong Rocket Racing, something along those lines, name-wise. You're basically riding a themed, arcade Donkey Kong track. But yeah, that is basically the details. The big downer, $80 at launch. Asterisk, because again...
Unless you paid the extra $50 and get it with the Switch 2.
Basically getting it $30 off. Which, by the way, the extra edition of the Switch 2 is limited time. They are not making that one forever.
Which means it'll last probably the end of the year, and then that's it.
Yep. Wow, they didn't put a trailer in for this, and this is probably the thing I was excited for the most. Donkey Kong Bonanza is Donkey Kong deciding he wants a piece of that Odyssey open zone action, I guess you would call it. As he's basically stolen the Hulk's moveset and can just destroy anything. He can rip and tear just like the Doomslayer.
It's basically Did you happen to be one of the few that actually liked Donkey Kong 64 in its natural form? Then you'll really like this.
Basically, it's because of box art leaks. We've seen a very young, basically baby Pauline is hanging on to Donkey Kong. This seems to be kind of maybe a before Pauline and Donkey Kong met. Maybe this explains why New Donk City is New Donk City.
It would also explain why Donkey Kong got the redesign.
Yep, because Cranky is in this game. We have seen Cranky. We have not seen any of the other Kongs, even though there are other monkeys. But there is nobody named that we know of besides Cranky. But yeah, you're basically exploring around, finding golden bananas, breaking them to collect them, just like in Odyssey. Those are basically your moons. There's even different tiers of moons. We honestly don't know much else. There are bad guys and stuff, and Donkey Kong was a minor apparently before this. And oh, there is outfit customization. So if you don't like Donkey Kong with pants, don't worry. He doesn't have to wear them. There's literally I think it's a fossil item that you get that allows you to get other outfits. We don't know what those other outfits are besides, you know, overalls and pants, Donkey Kong with the cap that looks suspiciously like Diddy's, and Vanilla Kong.
He doesn't have to have pants until the final level where he actually has to have pants.
Yeah, he'll get some fancy outfit that you'll be stuck with the entire last level. But yeah, there's not much else to say. This does come out a month after the Switch 2's launch. This is a $70 game. Because Nintendo decided, we're going to beat GTA 2 to fucking up the industry and its pricing. Announced in the CG trailer, Kirby Air Riders. This is what Sakurai's been working on for like 3 years.
It is a 25. I thought they said next year.
Nope, it's 2025. I just went to the end of the trailer.
I could have sworn it said 26.
I know Dusk Blood is 26, and for some reason that's listed in the first party section on the Switch 2 website. I assume because Nintendo paid for it.
So then Prime 4 and Kirby are end of the year ones.
Yeah. This is neat and cool. I know some people are just like, Kirby Air Riders? Okay. I'm like, well, some people are happy about this.
I'm also sure that some people are completely upset that Sakurai was working on this and not Smash.
Or like Kid Icarus Uprising, like he teased, like he joked about. Not even teased, he joked about that.
Yeah, but to be fair, I get the funny feeling that Kid Icarus fans are in the same boat as F-Zero, Star Fox, and Metroid fans, and they're just happy whenever they get anything.
Yeah. But yeah, not much else on Kirby Air Riders. To be perfectly honest, when the trailer first started, I would have swore to you that it was going to like transition to some new version of Life Light. Because it was Kirby struggling with the Warp Star. And I'm like, oh, this is somehow an in-between from like the cutscenes that start World of Light. And we're gonna transition into him coming back out of it, and this is gonna be that deluxe version of Smash Ultimate. And like Life Light's going to kick in. It's like, no Air Riders.
What could they... My thing is, what could they really even do?
I haven't the faintest idea, which is why I wasn't like super on board with it, because I'm like, what the fuck do you do? The entire point of Smash Ultimate is it's basically the deluxe version of Smash 4.
The only thing you could even do with that would be give everyone all the DLC out the gate with it.
Yeah. Like, there's nothing new you can do to that game. And to be perfectly honest, they should just let it be that case, because, like, there's no one better than Sora to throw in there as the last character.
Well, and not to mention, here's the other thing with that. What would also be the point in that when you could play it on the Switch too anyhow?
Yeah, it basically would have to be the same case for like Tears and Breath of the Wild and ZA and Prime Forward. It's basically a Switch 2 edition of the game.
Yeah.
Only it would follow the Jamboree thing of being like, hey, here's the game for it plus $20, since it would have new content.
But yeah, Air Riders.
And it certainly exists as a CG trailer and nothing more. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are getting Switch 2 editions at launch. So we'll get to more about Switch 2 editions in a bit. Basically, they're boasting smoother frame rates, faster load times, better graphics, and an additional use of a new Zelda Notes app that is on the Switch Online app. Basically, you get it syncs to the game. You get help finding shrines and Korok seeds and like. You can share your creations from Tears of the Kingdom to other people using QR codes. And you get extra voiced lore. Oh, you also get items from Zelda Notes. I missed that part. Oh, this is actually this was not in the direct for some reason, because I don't remember any of this. There's like medals and stuff you can gain for different stuff and daily bonuses. That was not in the direct. But you also get voiced lore bits from Rauru and Zelda and Tears and Breath of the Wild, respectively, for you lore people who wish for more lore that you'll argue about forever because Breath of the Wild doesn't fit into the timeline like it was somehow supposed to. Any thoughts on Switch 2, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom?
Nah.
Fair. Additionally, Prime 4 is getting a Switch 2 edition. It will boast quality and performance modes. Quality is 4K 60 HDR, whereas performance is 1080 120 HDR. Hooray. Kirby's Forgotten Land is getting a Switch 2 edition, and it will get additional content with a no new story. It's called Starcross World. It will have new Kirby ate a thing, but he can't eat it abilities. It's improved performance as well. This comes out in August. The Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom, I think, are at launch.
I believe so, yes.
I think. Yeah. Mario Party Jamboree is getting a Switch 2 edition that gets new content as well. Basically, all new minigames featuring the mouse control, the mic, and a new Bowser live game show where you have to use the camera so you can do AR stuff. And also a new like roller coaster mode as well. This comes out in July. ZA is getting a Switch 2 edition as well, just boasting better resolution and frame rates. Switch 2 Welcome Tour is a the mini interactive manual for the Switch 2 that tells you about stuff for the Switch 2. You have to pay for this.
This is the Switch 2's 1-2 switch. Just saying.
It doesn't feel like it.
It is.
It feels like the one Astrobot game, but less. Not the one that came out recently. The first one that was basically a tech demo. Dragon Drive will be a 3v3 wheelchair basketball game. Focuses on mouse controls. I kind of have to agree with someone there. It feels like this game feels kind of unfinished.
A little bit,
Something about it doesn't feel like this game's done. This feels like a concept. Like if this is supposed to be like the Switch 2's version of Switch U, this isn't happening because there's no anything that makes you really look at this game and go, this looks cool. This is like basic. The GameCube emulator is coming to Switch Online too. At launch, you will get the not optimized version of Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2 featuring Link, and F-Zero GX. In the pipeline that they've shown off at least, Mario Sunshine, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers, Chibi Robo Plug-in to Adventure, Luigi's Mansion, and Pokemon Coliseum. Additionally, you can get a GameCube controller for you to really play these GameCube games as intended. Online play and save states and all that are there as well, which like all of the other emulators are on Switch. Any thoughts on that?
Nope. Good to see it though.
Yep. Switch 2 third-party offerings, kind of, because a couple of these are basically Nintendo backed. From Software is bringing an exclusive title to Switch 2 next year called Dust Bloods. This is not Bloodborne, even though it looks like Bloodborne. And it's like 4-player PvPvE.
It's a FromSoft game. It's Bloodborne.
I mean, yeah, it basically is Bloodborne. Whether you like it or not, people, this is basically them doing a Bloodborne game because apparently Sony won't let them make a Bloodborne game. As much as people have been bugging them about it for the last like 3 years. Elden Ring is getting a Turnist edition on Switch 2 in 2025, so you can still get regular FromSoft gameplay. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is basically a follow-up to Age of Calamity by going, hey, we're gonna be fully canon this time and not muck with the timeline as established by letting you play as Zelda's adventures in the past with Rauru and all those other sages that we never got names of and don't even see their faces because they're just hiding behind the masks of the oh, not Guardians. What's the word I'm looking for? The Big Macs from Breath of the Wild. Why can I not remember their names? What they're collectively referred to.
Divine Beast.
Yes, Divine Beast. Yeah, they're wearing masks that are reminiscent of the Divine Beast. But yeah, hooray! More Nintendo Muso games. Good, even if it is one no one will like because it's not basically Hyrule Warriors 2. It's a Hyrule Warriors spin-off game.
Again.
I'll play it. I'll be the sucker. I'll play it. It's coming out in the winter. Deltarune's newest chapters will launch on the same day as the Switch 2, meaning they will launch elsewhere on that same day on Switch 2. So, hooray for you Deltarune folks. Hades 2 was also going to come out this year for Switch 2 before other consoles, because it's only on PC right now. Final Fantasy VI Remake and Rebirth are going to come to Switch 2. Cyberpunk is coming to Switch 2 in a new edition. Street Fighter 6 is going to come to Switch 2 with Amiibo. There's also Amiibo for Age of Imprisonment, because Amiibo still exist somehow. It's like the most shocking thing out of this direct is that Amiibo still exist. Amongst other stuff, EA Sports' titles, NBA, WB, Split Fiction. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster is coming. That was our 3DS port. Not the one I was expecting, to be perfectly honest. I didn't think they would port that. Yakuza 0, Director's Cut, new version of Yakuza 0 with some new content. Hitman World of Assassination is coming. They decided to keep teasing that they're still doing that James Bond game, even though James Bond rights are in the huge kerfuffle. I assume that's why this game has not gotten out the door more than anything. Dame Ex Machina is getting a sequel. Fucking Silksong got a 2025 date. Just out of nowhere while no one was paying attention. If that turns out real, I'm going to laugh, because that will be hilarious that they just slipped that in under the radar and most people are probably not going to catch that. Kiyotagami and Reanimal round out third-party listings. So how do you feel about the Switch 2 Direct?
I feel like it was a good opening for the Switch 2.
Yes.
The question is, how are they going to follow this up?
Yeah, I came out of the Switch 2 Direct happy and excited, and then I saw price points afterwards, and I went, oh. It brought it down. And probably why they didn't say any of those things in the Direct itself.
It doesn't surprise me where the price point is, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Like, the box itself, exactly where it was going to be. It's Mario Kart and DK being that $80 and $70 price points respectively that make me go, oh no, everyone's going to be emboldened to make games more expensive now. That will probably not end well. That concerns me just for the industry at large, rather than just Nintendo, because Nintendo could probably handle it, and push comes to shove, they'll drop the price.
To be fair, I feel like more companies need to push for the higher price point and then offer sales.
Yeah, I feel like
if they know they have to make $60 on the game, push for that 80. Then you could possibly make more, run sales every so often where you're selling it for 65, 70. Then you're still making more than what you have to make off of it.
Yeah, I feel like 6 months after your game's out the door, you gotta drop the price point by $5 to $10.
The problem's going to come in to 5 years down the road. Mario Kart World is still going to be $80.
Yeah.
Nintendo does not do that.
Yeah, there's a reason the Steam sale is incredibly successful and it sells a lot of games, is because they put a lot of games at deep discounts, especially games that have been out for quite a while. That really entices people to, like, not only buy a game, but buy a lot of games at once. Because there's value there of just...
But there's value on the consumer end, but there's not on the company end.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I feel like they need to just set, okay, I've got to make $60 on this, so I'm going to set it at 80 and then offer sales where I can get it down to that point where I can break even.
Yeah.
If they even did that, that would be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Now, the Switch 2 edition of games is... I feel like we're at the point where we don't know enough about basically what is in the box for these Switch 2 games, or Switch 2 editions of games. But I feel like if you are interested in buying into Switch 2, I would hold off on pre-ordering or looking into the Switch 2 game editions of games until we know definitively what is in those boxes. Because someone got a hold of a UK support rep, and they have said, which bear in mind, they go on to say that they could be wrong on this, and this may not be the whole story, but at least according to one rep, what is in the boxes for the Switch 2 editions of games is basically the Switch 1 cartridge and a download code for the upgrade pack for Switch 2. Basically. And then on the UK side of things, or still in the UK side of things, on their eShop page, they do specify that if you have the Switch 1 version of the game, even if you do the upgrade pack stuff for Switch 2, you can still play the game on Switch 1. Which definitely suggests that this upgrade pack thing is a DLC attachment to basically go, here is your improvements and upgrades. Because it would only exist on the Switch 2 to start with. And that, even if it is on a red cartridge, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that ISO is Switch 1 ISO. I feel like. There is not a Switch 2 ISO of Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. I don't think.
Well, there wouldn't be anyhow. ISOs are disc format, not cartridge.
Well, in lieu of the actual technical term for them, that's what I'm talking about. The game on the cartridge is the same regardless of if the cart is black or red. I feel like that's what we're looking at here. Which makes sense. If you own Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom right now, why are you buying the Switch 2 edition of the game for literally full price? When you can just get the upgrade pack when it comes out for $10. It also feels like the simplest solution to that problem of like, okay, how do we do these Switch 2 editions of games if we are letting people who physically have the game already upgrade? Well, it's just a patch, basically. However large that patch needs to be. But I guess any other thoughts on Switch 2 editions, even since we're only at like 6 of them, outside of all the free ones?
Nah.
Just all right, couple smaller news real quick. First and foremost, we have a release date for the live action Zelda movie, because someone thought it was a good idea to make the Zelda movie a live action one. I'm still baffled by that decision, but whatever. It'll come out in 2027. I guess it'll come out in 2027. No other specific words on what this is. One of the folks I follow, they did ask the question of, do you think the movie should be an adaptation or do its own thing? I honestly feel like it would be smarter for it to do its own thing, because I don't think you can adapt a Zelda anything in one movie and it not feel rushed.
You could.
I mean, I think some of the real early Zeldas you can get away with, but those aren't the Zeldas I assume people would be looking at for adaptation material in a writing room, because those are not the recognizable Zeldas to a lot of people.
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, you could even Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, you could even do one of them two. Think of how much downtime and travel time you've got in most Zelda games.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like
you would want to cut that out for a movie sense. So I mean, Twilight Princess might be a stretch. Breath of the Wild would probably be an easier one.
I was thinking of like the major plot points of like, okay, what's the major plot points of Breath of the Wild? Well, Link has to go to each of these 4 locations, solve a problem, take out a divine beast, or take out a monster and a divine beast before he gets to the castle and then fights the big bad. And I'm like, that's a lot to ask for about probably an hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
Okay, but games will pad.
Fair.
What if he has to travel to the divine beasts, activate them so that it weakens Ganon to then go and fight? And it'd be interwoven with all the cutscenes that we would have normally had in Breath of the Wild.
yeah, granted, I feel like they would benefit more from just taking what Zelda is as a franchise and just doing their own new thing with it, because Zelda's kind of perfectly set to just do their own new story with it. Because what do you need to tell a Zelda story? Well, you need a Link, you need a Zelda, and you need a Ganondorf, and you need a Hyrule, and that's it.
Oh, but when a Link doesn't say a word, how are you pulling that one off?
It's called we give him a personality, because some games have that. Like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom has a Link with a personality. He just doesn't say anything vocally, but he has dialogue. He has words. There's a character there. It just is not presented well. Then again, it would be their first time with a vocal Link. We have 2 animated shows with that. Granted, some people don't care for those animated shows, but that is beside the point.
Boo. Get this man off the internet. You're wanting someone to excuse you.
Yes, I am. Look, it doesn't help that this thing is basically in Schrodinger's land right now when it comes to like anything like this, where we know nothing about it because it doesn't exist. There is no work done to this yet that we can see. It can be anything, or it could be nothing and be canceled. So at the end of the day, I honestly don't care until they have something to show for their work. Any other thoughts, I guess?
No.
All right, last up, Ubisoft is forming a new subsidiary with Tencent that's valued at apparently $4.3 billion that has some of their IPs on it. That's strange. I wonder why this is happening. It could be do anything with the ongoing fight over what's going to happen to Ubisoft in the next couple years or so. Basically, this is exactly what reports were suggesting, that the Guillermo family was going to try to do a subsidiary with Tencent in order to offload their IPs into a new company and basically say, well, Ubisoft's dead, bye. But they have Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. And I guess nothing else, maybe. How do you feel about that?
Meh.
Fair. That is all our news for the week. Quick roundup of the releases. On the 8th, Care Bears Unlock the Magic for PS5 and Switch. South of Midnight also comes out for Series X on the 8th. Hooray. Find something on the 10th since it's a mile long. Poppy Playtime Triple Pack for Series X and Switch. Steam World Heist 2 for PlayStation 5 and Switch. On the 14th, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown for Android and iOS. On the 15th, Five Nights at Freddy's Help 1 and 2 for Series X and Switch. Indiana Jones of the Great Circle is finally coming to PlayStation on the 15th. Monument Valleys 1 and 2 are going to come to Switch. On the 17th, iRobot, I assume no relation to the Will Smith movie, for Xbox One, Series X, and Switch. Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Unlimited for Xbox One, Series X, PlayStation 4, 5, and Switch. And that is honestly about it. I guess any other thoughts?
No.
I guess one additional note, because I forgot to touch on it since I had the doc open. Tommy won the the point spread for Switch 2 Direct by 1 point. Negative 25 points to negative 26.
We both blew it on the price.
Basically. Also, we were like basically half right on the yes nos. We were mostly right on counts outside of the price. And then we were halvesies on our full predictions.
It's funny. Nothing completely got me more excited with the Switch 2 Direct than the fact of when I saw they said beginning of June, I was like, okay, yep.
Yeah, we've got 2 months to make you excited for a Switch 2, assuming the world doesn't implode by then. But yeah, that is basically it, folks. Thursday, since we're finally out of reactions, oddball streams, and stuff, I'm back to doing CAD stuff. We're going to start on the Fies Kimmy, since that's one of the simpler ones I can do, because he's just a ye olde flip phone friend with arms and legs. Friday's
We're gonna start the GameCube the Friday then.
Hooray!
We're gonna be starting off with Luigi's Mansion because I'm just going in order of release.
Haven't we done a full run through of Luigi's Mansion on stream?
I think we might have. I'm not 100% on that one though.
I feel like we have, or at least we've done some amount of Luigi's Mansion, so that'd be nice to revisit it anyway.
We might throw retro achievements on there just because I feel like we might have, but I'm not 100% on that.
I have to go look for a retro. Where's the retro achievement list? Oh yeah, there is. Is there anything stupid? Not really. Good. Sometimes retro achievement lists are a bit dumb. But yeah, that'll be Friday, Saturday?
Will be a thing. I've got something that I'm thinking of, I just don't know. I don't know how I want to do it is the thing, so I'm still brainstorming that.
And then next Sunday, we start our run-through of Futo PI. Hooray! It'll last all of like 3 episodes, I think. It's not a very long show. I could have sworn someone has subbed the movie. I don't remember. Maybe not. We'll find out soon. But yeah, that is our week ahead, folks. In 2 weeks, we'll be back to talk shop on games and stuff. So if you like what you're seeing, drop a follow. Really appreciate it. Exclamation point YouTube and chat gets the YouTube archive for all of our stuff. Exclamation point social and chat gets our handles for all of our social medias. And exclamation point Discord and chat gets those, like drop by, say hi. We'll see you Thursday, folks.